Hello and welcome to UpFront episode 5. You already know who I am. This is Tommy Hirsch, and this is my man, my brother from New York City, by way of Melbourne, Nick Mentalinos. What's up, my brother?
Yes, sir. Good to be on here.
Great to see you. Tommy, you know it's always a pleasure. We're going to get right into it. Actually, you know what? Can you tell these people who you are and what you do?
I am Nick Mentalinos. Obviously, as we spoke about, what I do is up for debate. If you look at my Instagram feed, you probably think I'm just taking sneaker selfies at NBA arenas, but there's a little bit more to it than that. I do cover the NBA for ESPN Australia. Obviously highlighting the Aussie guys for ESPN Oz. Doing the rest of the NBA for ESPN and its outlets around the world. So. Yes, it's more to it than just sneaker selfies.
Right. Okay, cool. So, first segment of this show, we're going to jump into Game 3 of the Grand Finals. TH, talk to me, man. Game 3, Melbourne United versus Adelaide in Melbourne. What were your thoughts of that game?
Well, Melbourne came out real strong. Casper Ware was super aggressive, as we expected, in response to his little drawing back and forth with Shannon Shorter. They came out really strong, Melbourne, and took control of the game early. Unfortunately, Casper Ware, again, got into a little bit of foul trouble. CG43 got into a little bit of foul trouble. But it didn't matter. Melbourne had a double-digit lead early. They were doing it quite easily, up by like 14 at one point early in the second quarter. Mm-hmm. Ware was off, though, at that point. Right before he came back on, Adelaide started this run, and bam, just like that, a 14-0 run, and the game's tied again, as they do. I mean, this is just what we expect from Adelaide by now. Then the game got really interesting. It was a bit back and forth in that second quarter. The huge three from Prather on the buzzer, and then it got real interesting.
It definitely got real. Sobey and him got into a tango, and Sobey gets ejected. My opinion, that wasn't the right call. If anything, it should have been a double tech or a double foul or no call. Break it up, let them go to the locker room, and start all over again. But the resilience, you have to tip your hat off to Adelaide because the resilience of this team. You know, Joey Wright coaches their team, and he's, wears his emotion on his sleeves, and so do his players. So does the players. They come in, they fight. Majuk Dang. Shout out to Wakanda. Speaking of Wakanda, I went to the movie yesterday. I saw Black Panther. For those who don't know what Wakanda's about, when he throws up the X, that's what he's representing. He's an African warrior. That's what he's throwing up, and that's what he's representing. Went and saw the movie yesterday for the second time. I got to do my part to get them as close to the $1 billion mark. Amazing movie, and I went the second time I saw it, and I actually appreciated it more seeing it the second time because I was falling asleep the first time because I had a long day. Not because the movie was bad, I just had a long day. But anyway, back to basketball. He stepped up in so many ways in this series for that team. It's, they win Game 5, he could be MVP of the league. MVP of the Grand Finals, in my opinion. He could be, depending on Game 5. Anyway, we're not going to get going into that point yet. We're still talking about Game 3. They came a shot away from sending this game to overtime.
Yeah, I mean, Deng was huge the way he stepped up. He was 5 for 5 off the bench until he missed that one right at the buzzer to try and tie the game. And like between he and Ramon Moore, their bench unit just makes them so dangerous all the time. I mean, you cannot take a break on defense against those guys. I mean, and shout out to, you called him homeless KD last week.
Yep.
Homeless man's KD.
He's stepping up to the poor man's version.
He may have someone that looks like that guy.
He's stepping up to the poor man's KD.
It's not the first time this series as well he's made a contribution. I mean, and you just it's just great to see for a young kid like that.
It is. And now we're going to move forward to Game 4. Let's just jump right into it. Okay, actually, we're going to back up. Shannon Short is the most hated man in Australia right now. Once he get the ball, the whole venue booed him. He's turned into the most hated. He's turned into the villain. And it's almost great to see that because this year, there hasn't been a villain in this league. And you need a character like that. So I actually respect the fact that he opened his mouth and he says what he believes. And he gives me the green light. We speak, and I say, look, I don't just throw anything out on social media. I ask. I say, look, I'm going to throw this on social media if this is how you really feel. And if they say no, I won't do it. He's like, yo, do what you do. I said, say no more.
he seems like a kind, and you guys would know better than me. I'm from the outside looking in, but he seems to thrive off that.
He does.
He seems to thrive off that villain role. Like, all right, this is what it is. I'm going to show you. And
he's playing it up now even more. I mean, you saw after Game 4, the post-game interview, what he said. He said, I know the fans there in Melbourne hate me, but they're going to hate me even more after we win Game 5.
No doubt.
Building it. I love it. I love it.
And what I love about that aspect is, you know, this is why this show was created, because during the week, there's nothing to discuss via basketball. There's only 2 teams left. So what do we discuss during the week if there's no platform, a media platform like this to discuss basketball? We have nothing. There is absolutely nothing. All you're waiting for is interviews from the coach or interviews from an individual player that you may not see. This is why UpFront has been created, to give a whole nother platform for the fans, for us to discuss what we want to discuss openly for as long as we want. That's why this show is here. UpFront is here to stay. Trust me when I tell you. If you build it, they will come. They're watching and they're coming.
Yes, sir.
No doubt.
Well, speaking of having something to say, I mean, can we talk about Joey Wright?
Let's do it.
Has he got anything to say at this stage? I don't know. I mean, I'm partly responsible. I'll put my hand up for that one. But
what do you mean you're responsible for what?
I can't ask the questions that got him fined in that press conference. But, you know, Joey said what he said. He knew what he was doing, and that's fine. And I get that he's trying to make a point. You know, after Game 3, I'm not sure. That's fine. I get that. But is it time to move on now? I mean, the people want to hear from Joey. He's the coach of a team who's on the brink of winning a title. He's a coach of a team in one of the greatest championship series we've ever had, if not the best in NBL history.
Wow.
We want to hear from him. Here's a great quote. We want to hear what he has to say.
So, Nick, what do you think? Do you think, I know you just got off the plane, you know, you hear bits and pieces about NBL. Do you think what he's doing with those Bill Belichick type of answers and Popovich type of responses to the media, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing, because it still draws attention to the league. Now, I know Tom said, you know, we've got to move on and people do want to hear, but at the same time, it is still drawing attention, right? Whether that's good or bad, I guess that's up to the individual to decide.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you know this as well, like, any attention I feel is good attention, in my mind. But again, other people may disagree. They may look at that and say, hey, Tom's right, man. We want to hear what Joey Wright has to say, especially on the eve of, you know, a Game 5 or prior to a Game 4, post-Game 4, whatever it may be. So I guess it comes down to the individual. I've dealt with Pop in the past. I've been popped by Pop. I'll tell you what, when it happens to you, it's not a really good feeling. So if Joey gave me one of those answers, I may not feel the same way. But, you know, when it doesn't happen to me, I don't mind it.
Right. I tell you, well, I know you got popped by Pop, but
Twice.
Nerily got her fair share. Joey Wright, Nerily Meadows, who's the courtside announcer, courtside reporter. She, in Game 4, she had to question Joey, and Joey just kept hitting her with we're going to do the best we can. You know, that she was like, Joey, this crowd, you seem to thrive under your team. You know, what do you think about them? We'll do the best we can. Joey, this suit is amazing you're wearing. What is the name of the designer? We'll do the best we can.
See, but I feel like, especially in this day and age with the social media, that 30-second, 45-second clip, that's going to go, you know, viral. That's going to be watched 300,000 times on Twitter or Instagram. Like, I just feel that's gold. Like, that's you can't get better than that.
You know, so at the end of the game, myself, Nerily, and Sean Reddish, we were waiting to catch our flight, so we was joking about it. And then Sean Reddish said, you should have asked him, hey, if you had another child, what would you name it?
Can I take my guess what he would have said?
We'll do the best. Yeah. Anyway, Joey Wright, either way, it's been a great series to watch these two teams go at it. And funny enough, Game 4, let's jump into it. Adelaide came out the blocks. Was down, Melbourne was down 24 at one point. Adelaide just came out uber aggressive. The foul count was 25-1 at something like, at some point, what was it, in the first half of the game?
Yeah.
I think it was 25 free throws.
33-1.
33-1.
Wow.
Now, if you're not watching this game, you're going to say, for sure it was home cooking. I called the game, I was there, and it wasn't. Melbourne United shot 1 for 13 or 1 for 15 up until that point threes. Melbourne United wasn't the aggressor. Adelaide is taking the ball and pushing it down your throat. So when you got an aggressive Nathan Sobey just attacking you, you got an aggressive Shannon Shorter going at you, Mitch Creek, every time they touch the ball, they applying pressure. The referees call it the offensive. Whoever was aggressive, they got the call. And Adelaide, hence 33 free throws.
Yeah, and look, you made that point a number of times during the broadcast. I think it was spot on. Melbourne was taken out of what they wanted to do. They were forced into a lot of late shot clock isolation plays, fadeaway jump shots. And when you're not attacking the defense, you're not going to get those calls. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And that's where the game kind of turned in the second half, and they came out with a different mentality.
Yep.
But Adelaide totally controlled that first half, absolutely.
100% they did. Second half, as you just said, Melbourne came, played their style of basketball. Casey Prather stepped his game up and was attacking. He was monumental. It was huge, his role in the comeback. But it just wasn't enough. They were just, Ramon Moore played well. Again, the African warrior, Majuk Deng, stepped up. And no three was bigger than that one possession when DJ hit the three in the corner, and that put the nail in the coffin. Absolutely. And that's why the series is tied 2 apiece.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we just talk for a minute about Casey Prather, though? This is a guy that I think before Game 4, no one was talking about him in this series. On the Melbourne side, it was all about Ware and Golding. But he's quietly been their most consistent and probably their best player at times during this series. In Game 3, when Ware and Golding were off with foul trouble again early in that first half, he kept the scoreboard ticking over.
True.
And then obviously we saw what he did in Game 4. He led that comeback by himself. He had like 10 of 12 points at one point, carried over into the fourth quarter, made huge plays. Is he quietly Melbourne's MVP in this series?
I believe so. I was the biggest critic when he was injured and Carrick Felix was balling. Casey Prather got injured, who was a 2-time champion, going for his 3rd championship in 3 years. And he got injured. Dislocated shoulder? Dislocated elbow.
Elbow, yeah.
Right. They bring in Carrick Felix. The team, they were struggling prior to that point. And they come in. Carrick Felix comes in. 9-1 they go. Balanced the attack. He came in. He was really more of a defender. The ball continued to be in Ware and Golden's hands. They began to flourish. Team is rolling. They get to first place. They might have won, 11 out of 12 at that point, or 9 out of 10 games, something like this. Now, Casey Prather comes back. I'm like, well, what do you do? We don't know if he's going to come back pre-injury Casey Prather. No way he's coming back pre-injury. He's been out 10 weeks, and he's not in shape. And, you got to elevate your game to a whole nother level when it's playoffs. How is he going to keep up? Well, Casey Prather's back. My bad, homie. You proved it. You back. Respect. Salute, because you back. I saw you. Game 3, he was in his bag, is what we say in America. Game 4, he was in his bag. And he put the bag on his back and carried that team. But it was just, it was too tough when you're down that much against an in-form Adelaide 36's team in Adelaide. That's why it's tied 2-2. It couldn't get done. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and discuss, as Liam calls it, the studs and duds. Who's popping and who's not, and what has to be done in Game 5 for each team to get a W. And also we're going to discuss this man's right here journey in the NBA. He's going to update us with all the players, the Aussies, that are in form and not in form in the NBA. We'll be back. Stay tuned. Peace. Welcome back to Up Front. You know who we are, but if you're just tuning in now, this is Nick Metalinos from America, by way of Melbourne. And Greece. Yeah, I forgot to mention that before, And this is Tommy Hirsch. We're back, and we're jumping right into your journey. Tell us, what's going on right now with the Australians in the NBA?
As Tom can probably attest to, and you as well, this is probably the golden era for Australian basketball. We like to talk about, that Gaze, Longley, early 90s, mid-90s era, but this is the golden era for Australian basketball. We've got 9 Australians, not counting Kyrie Irving.
Y'all love to hold on to that.
I don't.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, not counting Kyrie
Right.
I actually, just to sidetrack a little bit, I always get the emails from the NBA, and they always mention Australians in the NBA, Kyrie Irving. I had to hit up my guy and I was like, stop sending these to me, please. He doesn't want us. We don't want him right now. It's just like, let's let it be. He plays for Team USA, but we digress. There's 9 guys in the league now, and for the most part, with the exception of probably Mango, Matthew Yang, who's a 2-way player with the Hornets and the Greensboro Swarm, everyone else is contributing on their teams. Like, these are no longer role players. These guys are playing key roles on their team. So when you look at it, Australian basketball within the NBA is at an all-time high. I mean, off the top of my head, how many of these guys have won championships already? We've got Mills, Baynes, Bogut, Dellavedova, so we're looking at almost half these guys have already won an NBA championship. So that tells you something right there.
That is huge.
Yeah.
Okay, who has been the most interesting story out of them all? I know you spend time with a lot of them when they're in town. Like, whose story is the most interesting one?
When you talk about interesting, as in like
their journey,
their journey,
yeah. And like their current situation from start to where they're at now.
Yeah, I mean, you could go with any number of these guys. I mean, if you look at Dellavedova's story, undrafted but played at St. Mary's, making his way, ends up with LeBron, who absolutely loves him. Wins a championship. Goes through that whole. Remember that whole final series where he was basically a god for 4 or 5 games. To where he is now. I mean, obviously with the Bucks now, he's playing with Giannis, who again absolutely loves
Greek freak.
Dellavedova.
You love that.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Right.
So Delhi's story is interesting. Then you look at, obviously Bogut, drafted number 1, had that whole injury thing where robbed of his prime, and maybe he could have been a little bit, I don't want to say better than what he was, because he's obviously still had a pretty good career. But if he wasn't injured, what could have happened?
What could have happened?
You look at somebody like Thon Maker. I just find like a lot of these things interesting, where Thon Maker was projected as a late 2nd round pick or a mid 2nd round pick. The Bucks take a chance on him with the number 10 pick in the draft, and the kid's got all the potential in the world. So he's not having the greatest second season. So and no disrespect to Thon, you're my guy. I love you. You've always been good to me. No disrespect to him. He's not having the season probably everyone thought that he might have, but the potential is there. I mean, Kevin Garnett's worked out with this kid and praises him highly.
Wow.
He's got some big raps on him.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know Mills' journey. Like, I just find like a lot of these stories fascinating. I feel like you can't really pinpoint one and say this is more interesting than the other.
Right.
I just find like, especially with the Australians, because they sort of tend to come up through non-traditional routes.
Right.
They don't generally have that. Well, with the exception of...
We'll get to that in a minute.
We'll get to that.
Right.
With the exception of, 1 or 2 of these kids, one in particular, they don't go up through the traditional routes to get through the NBA. You look at a kid like Jonah Bolden.
Right.
1 year in Serbia, playing with Maccabi, one of the best EuroLeague teams
ever.
Yeah. Powerhouse, and he's likely going to be with the 76ers next year. Again, probably playing a pretty good role with them too. So it's an amazing time to be an Australian NBA fan.
It's huge. I wrote an article recently for NBL around when the Boomer series was on, the recent qualifying, looking at which of these NBL guys could potentially crack the team next year for the China World Cup. And I had like 12 or 13 guys listed before you even get to the NBL. I mean, it's crazy. There's the 90s spoke about Jonah. There's Cam Besto, who's still lingering out there as well. I mean, the talent is just unbelievable right now.
There's also a guy, I forgot his name right now. He plays with the Boomers, and he plays with a big Turkish club right now. I forgot his name.
Oh, there's Brock Modem and Ryan Brockhoff as well.
I think it was Brock. I think it was Brock Modem.
Modem's in Turkey, and
him. Right. Him
in Lithuania.
Lithuania, something, right?
Yeah.
I mean, right now, I think it's for sure. Just being involved with the NBL and obviously watching some of the players, Aussie players in the NBA. Look, all I know is next August, I'm going to be in that building in Etihad Stadium, because that's going to be a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
That is going to be, that's historic. Mm-hmm. That's almost as big as, like we spoke about, it's almost like the Olympics.
Yeah.
Come into Australia. The way they broke it down, like it's gonna be like 80,000 people in that place, you know, and it's a beautiful thing because it's for basketball.
Yeah.
You know, footy you get that all the time. You know, that's nothing new to you guys. But for basketball in this country, to have that type of talent in your backyard, get there. I don't know how, because I'm hearing this selling out already. I'm going to get there if I got to sneak in with a media bag. Well, I'm going to be media, but if I got to sneak in somehow, I'm getting that building.
I'm trying to find a way in that building. Hopefully I'll find my way in. I was actually in New York when that was announced.
Yeah.
And just to hear it, and just to hear Americans talking about Australian basketball
Right.
in that way, you know, in that fashion. And we can sit here and discuss, you know, what is it, almost 2 years out or 18 months out, whatever it may be, who's going to be on that American run. Look, no matter how you break it down, there's going to be 3 or 4 guys that are like at that level.
A-listers,
There's
right.
going to be another 3 or 4 guys that are like all-star guys.
Right.
And, you know, they're going to fill out the rest of the team with,
Right.
you know, whoever. Because I don't think the full, you know, top class of the NBA guys are going to turn up.
Right.
They're going to get a lot of them, though.
Right.
And that team is going to be a formidable opponent.
Of
and
course.
to have 2 games at the Etihad
That's-
in a country where we've been starved of, you know, that type of
Right.
basketball for so long, and
Right.
we've been asking for it. We've been asking for NBA preseason games, NBA something.
Yeah.
And now to have this here, you know, I think that's just the beginning for, you know, and shout out to Larry and the whole, you know, Justin and everyone at the NBL, because I know they're working towards bringing the NBA guys, an NBA team over here, and I think this is just a prelude to something like that.
Yeah, and I think it's only right because, as you said earlier, there's 9 players in the NBA. You know, when you look at it, I said it earlier, a couple episodes ago. The NBA does not do one-night stands. You know, they're all about long-term relationships. So they're not going to lay in bed with no league in any other country and not knowing that they don't have a long-term plan.
Right.
You know, and not even you tell me your plan. Like, I have to buy in to what you're selling and telling me, which clearly they have. And that's why this happening. You know, so again, you got to shout out Larry, Justin, Jeremy, the whole gang, Basketball Australia, period, for getting this thing done, because it's not just one man getting it done. You need a team, you know, and this team, you know, sometimes I'm in the office, they are working extremely hard. You know, obviously, look, I'm out in the field. You know, I'm not an office kind of guy, so that's why I say sometimes I'm in the office. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody in the office, though. But they're working extremely hard, and they're really passionate about the brand. So you need a team that's passionate and believes in your mission. It's very important, and everybody's working extremely hard. The energy's always good. You know, everybody's always positive and supportive, and that's why it's easy to come out here and do what we're doing.
And to that point, I mean, if you look at what Larry has achieved in such, how long has he been in charge? 4 years? 4 years.
4 years now, yeah.
That's crazy.
Look what he's achieved in 4 years. You know, and everything that he said initially that he was, and I said this to him face to face when we spoke in Phoenix for the NBL and NBA preseason games. And I said, honestly, when you first came and you said, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, I said, I was a skeptic.
Right,
You know? And
right.
I am no longer a skeptic. If that
No
man
doubt.
says we're going to do this,
Yeah.
I believe you 100%. So, you know, definitely shout out to Larry and the whole crew. Like we said, you know, they've done, in such a short amount of time, what they've been able to do has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Nick, what's the perception for someone based in New York? We're obviously biased here. You know, we see all the stories about the Aussie players. That's our focus. What's the perception of Australian basketball over there?
I think it's probably about this. I mean, I'm getting more and more American media asking me about Australian basketball, and they want to know who's coming up next and who's doing this and is this sustainable? Like, you know, I think they sort of understand that we're in our golden era as well, just because of the fact that you go over there and, like we said, these guys are over there. I remember, and this is again, you know, not to say that Paddy wasn't always sought after, but I remember my first couple of years in the NBA, I'd go to speak to Paddy Mills or, you know, one of the other Aussies, and be pretty much me just talking to these guys. And now it's like, I go to try to speak to Paddy, but I got to wait my turn because there's 3 other American guys ahead of me wanting to speak to Paddy or to Valley or to whoever. So the interest in these guys is there. The American media is starting to find out more and more about these guys, and they're curious. So, you know, and they keep asking me, like, who's coming up next? Who do you know? Or have you heard of... You know, it's like they've thrown some names out at me that I don't even know. You know, so it's definitely... I think the Americans are on about the same level as us in terms of appreciating what's happening at the moment for Australian basketball.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful thing. We're going to take another break. This thing is too good, and this is why the show is here. I'm sick and tired of going on other platforms and being limited to what I want to talk about. They ask me 3 or 4 questions and the interview's done. Fuck that. This is my show, and I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to talk about what I want. That's why UpFront is here, to give you the real for as long as we want and whatever we want to talk about. Stay tuned. We'll be back. Peace. All right, let's get into it. I know you guys waited long enough. Let's talk about Game 5, which is set up to be, arguably, the greatest grand final series ever. Classic. How could it not go 5 games? We predicted this, and this is where we're at right now. What's your thoughts about Game 5?
Well, I mean, the way the series has gone, you've got to give a slight edge to Melbourne by virtue of the game being at home. But having said that, I kind of feel like Adelaide's playing a little bit better ball right now. They're the ones who've been dominating games. They're the ones who've been building 15, 20-point leads through this series that Melbourne have had to peg back. We've seen Melbourne build some 10, 12, 14-point leads, but not really more than that. So I don't know how this one's going to go. I think it all depends on how Melbourne comes out to start the game. I mean, if they come out kind of flat and nervous with all the pressure being on them at home, you're going to see Adelaide maybe do what they did a bit in Game 4 and run over them early. But if they can control the tempo as they did in Game 3, then I think we're set up for a great classic finish.
I'm going to throw it out the window. I'm going to throw this out the window. Melbourne's under pressure, and it is all going to come down to how they defend Casper Ware. Check this out. What does Adelaide do all the time that was pissing me off? I can't say pissing me off on TV because people don't like that. But this is up front. I can say it right here. Here's how they were playing him. Switch everything. If I'm a point guard and I do a 1-5 pick and roll and they switch and put DJ on me, I'm going to go dancing. There's like nobody's in front of me. That's what they were doing the whole series till Game 4. Nathan Sobey started fighting over the top. Casper Ware did not score when a guard was in front of him or a 2-guard. Whenever they put the big man in front of him, a lot of help. They got to collapse. He's kicking it out, hitting shots, getting to the basket. So I believe if they keep the guards on him, he's not going to be able to get off and control the game. And it all starts and ends with him. Yeah, they can deal with Casey Prather getting 20, no problem. Mm-hmm. Casper Ware is the key. They shut his ass down in Game 4. Shannon Shorter got the best of that situation. He did. So all this shit, he's going to kill Shannon Shorter. He didn't do none of that. He didn't. So it's going to come down to him. Let's see what he come with. Yeah. Josh Boone got to step his shit up because I ain't seen him. I haven't seen him. Ty Wesley, I think they figured him out. Sit on his right. Because every time they made him go left, he tried to pivot back, go right, then pivot. Tough shot. If he made it, it was tough as hell. Mm-hmm. Hard. He had to work hard. Any other time, he's outplaying whoever's in front of him. Now, it's extremely tough. This is where you see who's real and who's not, because it's a series. Easy to eat one game when I don't got to see you for 3 more weeks. Easy. It's a series, so you better have counters in your game. And you better have a counter for that counter when they take that away. What do you go to next? So I'm going to give the advantage to Adelaide. I think Adelaide is going to come in there. Pressure ain't on them. They super confident, and they feel like they can't really rock with us. I'm going with Adelaide for Game 5. Upset of the NBL. That's where I'm going with it.
Well, I don't disagree with anything you just said. My only question is, did Melbourne figure out how to play Adelaide's defense in that second half? And can they carry forward that style of play into Game 5? Ware's been double-teamed a lot. We saw that they want to get the ball out of his hands. Someone else has to make plays. We saw Prather do that. We saw Golding do that. You're right. Josh Boone, is he 100% healthy? We don't know. He needs to step up. He needs to have more of an impact on those pick and rolls as well. But did Melbourne figure that out in the second half?
Well, we're going to see. We are going to see. Because I just believe the team with less pressure and playing more free is going to win. You got to think about this. Joey Wright always complained about referees. Okay? So he's not coming to Melbourne thinking they're going to get calls. They're going in there thinking they're going to get jerked. Mm-hmm. That's what they come in. So you know what? Just play. Whatever happens, happens. We did this without Childress. Whatever happens, happens. A team that play like that and confident and cocky as Adelaide is, that's a dangerous team.
I'm going to be a little bit less analytical than you guys about the NBL.
Right.
I'm going to pick Melbourne because I'm going to be in the building for Game 5.
Yes, you are.
Last time I was at an NBL game was at Hisense Arena, and Chris Goulding went off for like 52 or 53.
Oh, you was at that game.
I was there. And that was the last NBL game that I attended.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with my man Goulding and Melbourne, and I'm picking them to win based off that fact alone.
Okay. Well, my man Tom, he has to go. Lovely. And I appreciate lovely to have you on the show, and I appreciate your energy and your efforts as always. And stick around. This man and
I'm sticking around.
We're going to go in depth about a whole lot of things. So stay tuned. We'll be back. Peace. Hello and welcome back to Up Front. Obviously, this is, you know me, I'm Corey, and this is Nick Metalinos.
And if you don't know me by now, you should, I guess.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah, you should.
We left off last about, talking about NBA players that are Australian. I want to talk to me about Baynes, Aaron Baynes with Boston Celtics. How did you see him this season? Because I know before other places his role wasn't as big with teams as it is now with Brad Stevens with Boston Celtics. I know you spent some time with him, so I'll let you elaborate.
Yeah, we went out to Boston earlier this season. We filmed something with Baynesy that screened on ESPN. He gave us all access, so shout out to them and shout out to Daniel as well for organising that. But, I feel like Baynes is the type of guy that coaches know what they're getting with him. You saw what he did with San Antonio. Pop was a huge fan of what he brought to that team. Mm-hmm. He goes to Detroit after that, plays under Stan Van Gundy, who's also, one of the top coaches in the league. These guys know what he brings to the table. So when the Celtics signed him, they knew what he brings to the table. He's going to play hard. He's going to give you tough defense. He's going to give you some points. He can have his nights where he's going to get his, 16, 18, 20 points. He's going to rebound. He's going to play tough defense. Right. You know what you're getting with Baynes. I feel like, and he said this himself as well when I spoke to him earlier this season, he credits a lot to Brad Stevens and the organisation for sort of putting him in the right position to succeed.
Right.
And that's not saying that the previous coaches didn't, but, he's spoken about that a lot this season, that, as well as he's done, he goes, Brad Stevens is the one. He knows when to use me, how to use me, best way to utilise me to help this team win. He understands that he's got a role to play on that team. He's not your Kyrie Irving. He's not your Al Horford. He's not going to get those type of minutes and those many touches in the game.
Right.
He knows his role. He's going to go out there and he's going to do that every single night. And having had some experience with Baynesy in terms of dealing with him, I can say on game night, he's intense. Mm-hmm. He's intense. Like, I'm not intimidated by NBA players, but I will say Baynesy on game night intimidates me a little bit. And if they've lost, man, he takes that to heart. He takes that to heart. So that's what he's going to give you every single night in the NBA, and you can count on that.
That's dope. Yeah. That's real dope. All right, let's get to it.
Let's do it.
Ben Simmons.
I know where we're going.
Ben Simmons. We're going down to Philly. Jersey number 25 in Philadelphia. Ben Simmons. Talk to me.
The future Aussie GOAT. The soon-to-be Aussie GOAT. He's going to be the GOAT. I mean, there's not even a debate that he's the most physically gifted basketball player that's come out of this country, really. I mean, Bogut was he's not the first number one draft pick. Bogut was.
Right.
We're talking about two different players right here. Right. And, as good as Bogut may have been, could have been, we don't know, due to injury and all that sort of stuff, Ben Simmons he's just a transcendent talent. I mean, look at the numbers that he's been putting up and the names that he's being mentioned with. Every comparison is always Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Oscar Robertson. Like, we're talking Hall of Fame dudes.
Right.
He's had 9, I think I lost count, he's had 9 triple-doubles already.
He just had one the other day. I think he has 11 now.
It's just like ridiculous numbers that he's putting up. And again, only a select few have done this.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps talking about who's the rookie of the year. Is it Ben Simmons or is it Donovan Mitchell?
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to Donovan Mitchell, who's had a brilliant season with the Utah Jazz. And at the beginning or the early part of the season, you asked me who's rookie of the year. I said, hands down, Ben Simmons.
Right.
Halfway through the season, I was like, you know what? You can make a valid argument for Donovan Mitchell. If you pick Donovan Mitchell, I'm not mad at you.
Right.
I think if we've gotten to the point now where if it's not Ben Simmons, and you look at it, and you look at where that team is,
right.
They're fourth in the East.
Fourth in the East.
Fourth in the East.
That's crazy.
And he's played a huge part in that.
Of course.
To not have him as the rookie of the year, I think it's wrong.
Right.
I think it's wrong.
Right.
But shout out to Donovan Mitchell. That's not taking anything away from him.
Right.
You know, Ben Simmons is a transcendent talent. And he's a generational talent, and what he's doing is... It's like last year. Russ is having a historical season.
Right.
That's your MVP.
Yep.
He's having a historical season for a rookie.
You got to honor that.
That's your rookie of the year right there.
What do you think about... We have to go over to Utah.
Yeah.
Joe Ingles is balling. Dante Exum back at a season high.
Yeah. Has Joe Ingles missed a shot in the last month or so? You know, even all season, he's been on fire from three-point range all season. Speaking to the guys on the Jazz, to coach, you know, to some of the other players, the one thing that comes back about Joe Ingles on that team, they said he's our glue. He's our glue guy. You're looking at a guy who has been in the NBA for, I don't know, I think maybe his fourth season. Don't quote me. Don't anyone get upset at me if I don't get that right. Maybe his fourth season, but he's played with big teams in the EuroLeague.
Yep.
He's won an NBL championship. He's played in big games internationally with the national team. Like he's
a big game player.
He's a dude that's been around.
Yeah,
he's been around. So that's a young squad, that Utah Jazz squad. To have a guy like him and what he brings, not just on the court, off it, that big time experience, that veteran leadership. You can't say enough about Joey Ingles.
I feel you. So what do you think about Dante Exum?
He's, Dante, when he went down with that shoulder injury earlier this year, I was like, man, not again. What does this kid have to go through? You know what I mean? I thought, it's good to see him back on the court. I thought he was going to miss another full season, and I'm like, man, he's going to miss 2 full seasons out of his first, 3 years in the league. He's good, he's back, it's good to see him back.
Right.
The jury, and I'm not talking about myself, a lot of the, media are still questioning whether he can actually be a good NBA player. Is he a bust because he was taken number 5 in the draft?
Right.
This is the way I look at it. I still think he's going to be a good NBA player. I'm not talking Ben Simmons, all-star type of player, but I think he's going to be a very good player in the NBA. If you look at where he came from, he didn't play American college ball, didn't play American high school ball. He was out here in Australia. So the only American competition that he really played against was an exhibition. I think it was a Nike exhibition out in Portland for the Rose Bowl or something like that. So I always used to say this to the the American media that used to ask me about Dante. I was like, it's going to take him some time because he's still young, and he still needs to adjust to that American level competition.
Right.
So you throw him into the NBA with all this expectation as a number 5 pick. It's going to take him some time.
No doubt.
The injuries haven't helped. That sort of set him back a little bit. Once he gets going, and during the Summer League this year, he showed glimpses, and during the preseason, of what he can do and what he can be. So I still think that he's going to be good. He just needs to be given the right opportunity. You got to ask yourself now, and then Utah has said all the right things in terms of this. They said, no, we're with Dante for the long term. He's our guy. But you look at how well Donovan's been playing. They've got Ricky Rubio on that team. Where does Dante fit into that rotation, and how they're going to play him? So it'll be curious to see. He's a restricted free agent at this season. At the end of this season, curious to see if Utah offer him a deal. If they, anyone else tries to match it. So we'll see what happens with Dante. But he's the type of guy where it's let's give him some time. He's had a lot to overcome.
Right.
He's got the talent. He's got the potential. I think he's going to be just fine.
Fair enough. And on top of all of that, they could actually buy him cheap.
The Jazz?
Yeah, if they want to do an extension, they could do it cheap because he still hasn't really proved itself yet due to the injuries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's some of the leverage they're going to use.
That's the leverage they have.
That's the leverage they're going to have. So.
And worst case scenario, you just trade him because you didn't pay a lot for him.
Yeah, or you just let him. I mean, he's a restricted free agent, so if they don't want to offer him a deal, then he's free to sign with whoever he wants. So
Gotcha.
we'll see how it goes. But hopefully, if it's not with Utah, hopefully he lands in a situation where he's given the time to grow and develop without too many expectations being placed upon him.
Right. All right. Love my Aussies, but moving forward, LeBron James, your man.
Yep, the GOAT.
Okay.
The GOAT.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Let's do it.
Why is he the GOAT?
He is the best and most complete basketball player we've ever seen. Hands down.
Okay.
Hands down. And
Better than Jordan?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Let's.
And
Why?
Why? You know me. You know me, and I haven't just jumped on that bandwagon.
Now, you've been there forever. We've argued about this forever.
I was saying LeBron James is the best I've seen since about 2009.
Right.
So it's not just something I've said recently. And look, a lot of people tell me, oh man, you never saw Jordan. Yeah, hell yeah, I saw Jordan.
right.
There's a number 23 on my tattooed on my arm, and that's not for LeBron James.
Right.
This is for Michael Jordan.
Right.
I grew up with Michael Jordan. I'm not one of those guys where I stay in a particular era. All right. So, and by that I mean that players evolve. We move forward. If you don't move forward, you perish. Right. Naturally, these guys are going to get bigger, stronger, faster as time goes on. So I think in terms of the athletic ability, LeBron is just big. He's about he weighs 270 and he's the heaviest. 6'8". He's a freight train. But when you talk about basketball, and everyone likes to point out, well, Jordan was a better scorer. If you look at their career averages, Jordan I think he was at 31, something like that. LeBron's career average is like 28. And that's because his natural game is to facilitate. He's looking to pass first rather than score.
Right.
And he's still on target. I don't know if I think he hit it 30,000 points.
Yeah, he hit 30. He hit the 30K.
He's going to pass Jordan in terms of scoring. He's a better rebounder. He's a better playmaker than Michael Jordan. I'm going to say Jordan was probably a better lockdown defender. LeBron's a more versatile defender. He can guard any position through 1 to 5.
True.
How can you tell me this? The only thing that Jordan, stands will tell you is Jordan never lost in the finals. He's got 6 rings.
This is a good argument.
Okay, but isn't that more a reflection of a team rather than the individual? We're talking about an individual. When we're saying the best ever, we're not saying the Cleveland Cavaliers are the best ever, who won 1 championship, or the Miami Heat are the best ever, who won 2 championships with LeBron. Jordan won 6 with the Bulls, didn't win anything until Scottie Pippen came along, right? He's
oh, so you know we're going to go with this then, right?
Everyone needs teammates to win, right? Now, the other fact that I want to bring up is 2007, LeBron makes his first finals at age 22, whatever it is.
In San Antonio.
Yeah, they got
whacked.
4-zip, get out of the building.
Right.
Did you have a look at that Cleveland roster?
No, I didn't.
Eric Snow is your starting point guard. Mo Williams is on that team. He made Mo Williams an all-star. Right. Mo Williams is an all-star because of LeBron James. He carried that team as a 22-year-old.
He carried
a bunch of every team he's been on. He's carried. He leaves Cleveland, all right, who made I think they lost the conference semi-finals to Boston that year. I could be wrong. Could have been the conference finals, but they lost to Boston that year.
Right.
He goes to Miami. Cleveland ends up in the lottery the very next year. Miami, who hadn't made the playoffs the previous year when LeBron wasn't there, all of a sudden make the NBA Finals.
Yep.
They end up making, 4 finals in a row, winning 2. LeBron decides to leave. Cleveland was a lottery team before he went back.
Yep.
Miami had made the NBA Finals. LeBron leaves. Miami is a lottery team. Cleveland makes the NBA Finals. You tell me one man that has had that impact on a team.
No one, but
no one.
Okay, so look, now we can argue with Jordan. The rules were different. Right now, the rules are geared towards the offensive player. Back then, just hand checking alone, Jordan was getting his ass beat.
Yep.
Jordan never left a team.
But
Jordan,
I don't think that should be held against LeBron.
No, I had to. So you can't hold it against KD.
It's a different situation.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No,
It
it's
is.
not.
Because LeBron never went to his rival that had just beat him. He went to a completely different team that hadn't even made the playoffs, not a team that had just won 73 games.
Why is there not
He wasn't
an
piggybacking.
asterisk sign?
Because he wasn't
that
piggybacking.
3 All-Stars joined one team. 2 All-Stars joined one team. And already had an All-Star.
KD joined a team that had won 73 games and had 3 All-Stars. LeBron went to Miami and formed that team. They started from scratch.
Okay.
They hadn't made the playoffs the year before.
That's your opinion? You know, I'm going to leave it like that. That is your opinion. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is what is next for you? You know, you've had awesome experiences as far as this is what you're doing. You're doing what you dreamed of doing, what you're passionate about. What can we see in the future from you? What's next?
Well, I love telling stories.
Right.
You know, I don't want to be a beat writer. I don't want to cover, you know, do game recaps and all that sort of stuff. You know, I feel like there's so many interesting guys in the NBA. So many interesting stories to be told.
Mm-hmm.
We touched on the Australian guys a little bit earlier. We were just out in Greensboro, North Carolina, filming something on Mango Mathiang, the Sudanese-Australian kid that's out there on a 2-way contract between, you know, the Greensboro Swarm in the G League and then going up to the D League, up to the NBA, excuse me. An interesting story, you know, like I want to tell stories like that. So hopefully we continue to do that. You know, ESPN and I have been working very closely in terms of sort of planning out the projects that we've got going on in the future. You know, some of it may not be limited to basketball, but we obviously are going to stick to basketball.
Yo, hold on, we gotta keep rolling. Give me a second, keep rolling. It's the Uber Eats. We gotta eat. We eat up here. Yo, my man, how you doing? Hey, come upstairs. I'm in 504, right? 504, yeah. All right, I see you in a minute. All right. Yeah.
Shout out to Uber Eats.
Yeah. Shout out to Uber Eats. They come through. Cut a check. Cut that check.
Cut that check.
Also, shout out to the Sudanese population in Australia. These guys are trailblazing the way. You know, this brother right here you just mentioned. You know what I mean? Him. You have Thorn Maker.
Yeah.
You know, and that the population here is so big, and they love hoop. Like at some point, it's going to be a bunch of Sudanese ball players that's going to crack through the NBL ranks and play in the NBL, as well as get opportunities to the next level across seas and in the NBA as well. So they're only going to grow and get better because they love the hoop, and they're hooping all over Australia.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because part of what we are filming with Mango is something along those lines. So you'll be seeing something like that on ESPN very shortly.
Hold on, it's Uber Eats again, man. Hold on a second. Hello? Yeah, you can. Just tell the front desk that you coming to 504. Yeah, of course. Don't worry about it. Nah, just go ahead. Just tell them 504. Don't worry. All right, cool. You're doing awesome stuff with interesting stories.
So you mentioned the Sudanese community. You know, we just got some really cool stuff. That's part of the bigger picture that we spoke about with Mango out in Greensboro. You know, I feel like that South Sudanese connection here, especially with basketball, like you said, it's on the rise. And I feel like that's that next, you know, wave that's coming through, you know, with the Australian basketball talent. You know, you look at the kid like Deng Adel with the Louisville
he's been balling.
You know, so I feel like that's the next wave. We're working on something for ESPN, so keep it locked to that. We've got something coming.
Dope. Well, you know, I just want to tell you that I appreciate your time. You
Thank you for having me.
You're a brother to me. We family, and we've been doing this since 2010. You know, so it's awesome that things have reversed. You're in New York, and I'm in Australia. You know what I mean?
Taking our role.
I'm in media, and I'm interviewing you. You know, so it's a beautiful thing. It just goes to show you, keep going hard in life. Keep doing the best you can possibly do in life. Come on in. Oh, hold on. Let me get the door. Keep being who you need to. Keep pursuing your dreams and following your passion because you never know where life's going to take you. Come on in, my brother. Yeah, you're on TV. Come on, man.
No. I'm working.
Oh, he's working. He don't want to be on TV. He left. He kept moving. All right, peace.
No, thanks. I'm working. I have parked my car kind of.
Yeah, don't worry. Just, you know, you can bring it in.
Have it here, man.
Thank you, man. Have a good one. Peace. You can close the door behind you. Thank you. Yeah, but as I was saying, it's just all about following your dreams, being passionate about what you're doing. Never stop, never settle until you get what you want out of life. Be a good person, be a good human. Keep the energy positive and right. Keep good people around you, you know, and regardless of there's peaks and valleys in life, there's highs and lows. Just keep pushing and it will happen.
Yeah.
You know, things don't happen overnight. People that have overnight success stories, good on them. That's the 0.5% of a percent. You know what I mean? That shit don't happen like that. It's hard work. You know, so I salute you. You know, I respect all you've done, man, and all you're continuing to do.
Thank you.
And we
And likewise.
signing off like that. You already know it's all nothing but love.
BX.
BX all day. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the Bronx, and this is what we do, BX. But I'm also a warrior from Wakanda. So I'm repping it. I'm repping it heavy. Wakanda forever. We're going to sign off. You know, nothing but love. Appreciate you guys supporting the show and, you know, watching us cover what we love best, which is basketball. This is Up Front. I'm Corey. This is Nick. Peace and love.
Salute.